Eric Mwather with Mwather.com. In this video, we are going to be revisiting the idea of line extension as far as the RSI is concerned. It's a very simple strategy, but all you have to do is remember that whenever you have a line on the RSI, sometimes it's a good idea just to leave the line and to extend it for future use, because sometimes the same lines can become very relevant. So let's go to the educational part here, and we're going to begin by drawing a very simple line on the UNG daily chart. If I take a simple straight line, there was a break here. So this break level happened to be when the stock broke down off the highs here at about 26, and since then the market has been down. So a simple line extension of that RSI line like this, you can see now on hindsight, and the key here is uniformity. As you know, we come here, we hit the line with uniform action. There's a slight couple of days down. We come here, we show uniform activity above the line, back below it, which gave us that high. We have same type of uniform activity here, and every time there's a slight move lower as far as the stock is concerned. Uniform activity in each instant. Now it's until it comes here and number one has uniform action resistance above 69.10 that it stalls at this level here. But you can also see that there was uniform activity above the blue line and back below it. So there's uniform activity above the blue line and back below it. And again, we get this high finally when the stock breaks below. And so we see that uniform activity here eventually gives us a nice high at about 23. Yeah, okay, you can say that, it did not give us the high during these periods here, but you want to use this in conjunction with other parts of the chart. So I'll show you the weekly which confirmed this. But for now, let's take a look at another view, which is another line extension, another variable of the same strategy. If we go back and take a look at the red line here, we are also going to see instances of uniform activity below the line, back above it. For instance, you can see this double top above the line and back below it was this high. We also see that uniform activity to the line and back below it for a short-term high. Uniform activity to the line and back below it, short-term high. Uniform activity below the line and back above it, short-term high. Even here, this is uniform activity below the line and back above it. And also here, uniform activity below the line and back above it, which gave you that high. So irrespective of what the conclusion here is, that it seems like markets have a lot of symmetry. And if you pay attention to the symmetry, sometimes the charts can start talking to you. As of right now, we're looking at UNG coming back to that same line. If it shows RSI uniformity and symmetry around that line, then somewhere here, which also happens to be where we have a sharply declining 50-day moving average, then this could be where it could be a resistance level. Now let's take a look at the weekly. And on the weekly, we have now a different look. We're going to do the same thing, draw a simple straight line here. The break of that line was what gave us this move that led to this drop. So all we have to do is extend the same line for future reference. And you can see that the high here in about 28, 27 was when the stock finally went above the blue line and back below it with uniform activity. It also went above 69.10 and back below it with uniform activity, which was another sell signal. So we can see that the actual high in the UNG right now came when the RSI hit that line with uniform activity and back below it. So that was easy for us to see that going back a couple of months when that happened. Now there's another line which was a previous support line, taking the lows here, here, and here, extend that line, and we can see that that line extension comes in contact here, which was another break point in mid 2014, which happened to be this drop. UNG has not been back since then. So for future reference, all we had to do was draw a simple straight line. And those of us who are paying attention here, when this RSI came here and showed uniform activity above the line extension and back below it, in fact, it is a double top uniform activity move, then we suspected that that would be a high, and it happens to be here at about 23, where the market did actually eventually see this drop. So the line extension gave us this nice sell signal here, and once we used that, we knew that more than likely there was going to pull back was going to be taking place. So that was easy to see, and keep in mind that the daily was also giving us this type of resistance on the line extension. For now, we can see that if we take a recent break on the weekly RSI, and this break point was during this drop, and the market hasn't been up there since then, we can extend that line, and you can see that as of right now on a weekly chart, this can easily become resistance. If eventually this ends up being respected and the market shows uniform resistance on this back test, then that is going to suggest that RSI is going to stall, and so are prices. As you can see here, prices have come back to a declining 10-week moving average, which could be resistance. So even right now, we're looking at the possibility of resistance. If it can move above that line, then maybe it is out of jail and is about to start moving higher. But as long as there's resistance being shown on this extension of the line on the RSI, more than likely could be indicating that this is where there could be some type of resistance, and more than likely poised to go lower. So the purpose of this video is to reinforce the idea that it is good to keep your line extensions in your charts, because down the road they can also be very critical in giving you more information. But before I conclude here, let's take a look at one more other aspect, which is this blue line. There was a break there late 2012, which was off the highs here, and we saw a drop. Draw a simple line, and this line gives you additional information. You can see that we had uniform activity above the red line and back below it, which was this high, and then again uniform activity above the red line and back below it, which was this high. We can see that there was a period where the stock stayed above the red line, which was here, and this corresponds with this bullish period. As you can see, it kept the stock trading higher from this point to somewhere here when it finally went below the red line as a sell signal. And down the road, we can see that this was also showing double top resistance at that point, which is the most recent high. And remember, we talked about the back test line, this support line, and when you extend it, it came back here. So the fact that both lines ended up here was easy for us to see at the time that this is and was a logical place for resistance. It so happened that the market did respect that, and that's why it is down. So keep your line extensions, and there are multiple ways to look at the same chart from the RSI analysis perspective. Eric Moore, good luck, peace, and blessings. Woo!